Welcome to the KellFire Show. I'm Dr. Kelly Barron, and today I am so honored and so pleased to have Mary Elizabeth Jackson with us today. Um, I'm not going to bullet point her accomplishments and who she is, and I told her that off camera. I'm going to read it because there's so much to who you are and what you've done, and I don't want to miss any of it. But I think some of the biggest things is that Mary is an award-winning author. Um, she's a certified special needs and disability advocate. She is a mother of three. That's the biggest accomplishment. So good job to
Mm,
you, Mary. Mother of three, including two on the spectrum. And you're just a passionate advocate for
mm.
educating, creativity, and getting through this life. You have a podcast, you're live streaming, co hosting two shows. What don't you do? Co hosting two shows. Um, Speaking, educating, ghostwriting, songwriting.
Mhm.
So Mary has more talents than in her little pinky, that I have in my whole entire body, which I think makes you one of the most unique individuals and
Mhm.
probably makes you one of the most relatable individuals to women out there and an inspiration.
Mhm.
So, did I miss anything on your
Mhm.
intro? Any other
I
thing? Are you a skydiver? Are you?
No, oh, no, you'll never catch me doing that. I'd have to be totally, like, sedated, totally high, sedated something in order to even jump
How
out of
are
a
you a
plane.
songwriter? But you'd have that wouldn't be the thing. Like songwriting to me would be the most deer in the headlights moment of the walking the line between self confidence and being able to express yourself. That's amazing.
Well, I'm an author. I'm a children's author. I've been published since 2017. I wrote poetry my whole life, right? I was kind of drawn to that. I never You know how you dream about things, but you don't know if they're ever going to come true. Oh, I'd love to be a ballerina someday or something. You know what I mean? We have those
Yeah.
thoughts in our lives. And my son came very late in my life. 45 is when I had him. And I had already, I've been parenting for over 24 years. So my first child came right as I turned 33. I was told I could never have babies. So any of you ladies out there, I know that's a real struggle for some, and it's very heartbreaking. I know I lost a baby, but it don't give up on it. I mean, 7 years into my marriage, and I had gone for my first appointment at a fertility clinic, just had blood work done, hadn't even done any testing, like real testing and getting started. And the next thing I knew, I was pregnant. So the doctor was like, "Oh my God, you're the first woman this has ever happened to with me, right? I didn't do anything to you."
Right.
So I would say I have had four pregnancies. I have three babies. All of them are true miracles. And that's why I take my parenting job so seriously. Um, and when my son was like, I don't know, he was about 31, 32 weeks, he stopped growing. So I had what was called intrauterine growth restriction. I know we're jumping right into children here, but it's sort of
No,
where
no,
we're going.
no.
But um, I was I had to go on bed rest. Now, it was a very unique situation because my middle daughter, who was diagnosed at 2.5, is developmentally delayed, language delayed. What's POS? It's prevent. Oh my gosh, pervasive developmental disorder. I can't even talk. Sorry, NOS. So it means that she had some things going on they really couldn't completely diagnose her with at 2.5, but she was speaking at an 18-month-old level. And my mom worked in the 70s when I was a child in what was called the handicap department in colleges. That's what they still called it back then. We don't say those
Handicap.
words now. Yeah, we don't talk about that. We don't use that language anymore. But
Right.
so when I was growing up, any given day of the week in junior high and high school, there might be somebody at our house who was cerebral palsy or blind or deaf, or because she would bring these students home with her and she'd feed them.
Wow.
And I had no idea the effect that that would have on my life as an adult. And we don't know when we have children what kind of children that we are going to bear in life. So, my first daughter had met all her milestones, but she had a lot of sensory issues that I didn't really know about at that time. This is 2000. So at
Yeah.
18 months, I was in the pediatrician's office with her going, what's wrong with my child? She won't eat, you have, remember baby food, one, twos, and threes? She wouldn't
Yes.
eat the threes, right? Because she would gag and she would throw up and spit them out. And she would only wear purple and she would only wear certain fabrics and nobody could hold her but me. And it was a whole bunch of stuff that I was like, what is happening with my child? But she met all her milestones, walked early, talked early. She jumped before she was 2 years old. Most kids can't do that, right?
No, they can't.
Jumping is very hard for children. But, anyways, so the pediatrician at that time was like, well, she'll outgrow this. It's called texture sensitivity. I was like, okay. So I didn't really look into it at that time because the doctor was like, she'll outgrow it. Well, she never outgrew it. She's 24, almost 25, and still has sensory challenges, right? We've learned to deal with those. My second child was born when I was 36, and I thought she was normal. She met her milestones late. She didn't walk till she was 14 months old. She rolled before she crawled and she didn't talk. What she did was, we thought it was really cute. Actually, Kelly, I thought she was going to be a fairy or something because she had this little fairy talk that she did. And so when she was diagnosed, I was quickly educated on, okay, she's got to have speech therapy. She has to have OT therapy. We're 6 weeks out before she turns 3. So all these people were coming to my home to work with my daughter, getting her ready to put her in the public school system at 3. It was a whirlwind of, oh my God, what is happening to our life? So it was a huge change, right? From just kind of being a typical family. And I literally had to teach my daughter with um, a board and pictures that are, on Velcro, and and one side says first and the other side says then. And I had to teach her her own language. First we do this, then we do this through pictures. And that is, you think about teaching your own child their own language, like,
Right.
where you're speaking your language to them, but they can't say it, you know?
Right.
So that was a whole learning experience in itself. And I remember teaching her her ABCs through singing because she couldn't say them. And I knew enough that when stroke victims, they use singing a lot of times to override the part of the brain to teach them how to do things again. And I'd already been using orchestra music with my children. I had done some research about that. And it's funny because both my girls have played in the orchestra and they're multiple instrumentalists. And I take that going back to being in the womb and hearing all that music like every day of their life. But so when my little sweet pea was in preschool, 4 to 5, she was 4 or 5 years old, and she went through an 8-month period of a very difficult traumatic situation that she couldn't verbally tell me about, that we ended up in a lawsuit with 6 other families for 3 years.
Wow.
Completely devastating that your child is abused at the hands of their teacher.
Oh
And
no.
where I'm coming back around to is when I was pregnant with my son, the cases finally came to court and I was sitting on the stand and I had just been put on bed rest, but I was not missing being able to stand up for my daughter. And so
Right.
I was sitting on the, and this is all true story. I was sitting on the stand praying to God that I didn't lose Carson, my son, but to be there to be able to defend my daughter. And
Absolutely.
very intense, very, very intense time. And so when he was born, and we were prepared that he might have all kinds of issues, brain damage, not walk, that kind of thing. And he went home with us from the hospital. He didn't even go to the NICU. I mean, he was a true miracle child. And about 5 months after he was born, I was sitting there in this place of just, thank you, God, that I'm here and I'm alive and my son is alive and I survived his afterbirth. And the story for my first children's book came.
Oh
It was
wow.
like a download.
Right.
So my children's books are very close to my heart because they have so much meaning to them other than just, oh, I want to write a book and get published,
Exactly.
you know?
They're part of
So
your story.
yeah, it's part of my story. And so, I've been an advocate for a long time, but my children's journeys have really changed that pathway for me, is how I advocate. And we have to advocate for ourselves from the time we can take care of ourselves, because we have to make sure we're drinking the right water and eating the right food and getting the right sleep and taking vitamins, and we're nurturing ourselves. As a mother, we have to do that for our baby as soon as we're pregnant. We find out, right?
Right.
So having a baby at 45, and then like, so I'm 57 now, he's 11, and my girls are 24 and 21. It's exhausting going
Oh,
through period, and I'm in perimenopause. It's, I mean, maneuvering through it is, good days are, you hang on to those and go like, I'm not going to sleep today, because I want to hang on to today.
right. Today is a good day. Let's not,
Yeah.
I don't want to wake up tomorrow to the bad day.
Yeah, right. The hot flashes and whatever it is, your liver hurts. You've got your vagina's hurting, whatever your body parts are hurting, right? Because they do. It's like a ping pong or a game.
I think I was discussing with one of our IT um, employees and trying to kind of give him a crash course on menopause. He's 27. This is not something that he even remotely gets. But I was trying to explain. Okay, there's 34 known popular symptoms of menopause, but in actuality, pretty much any symptom you can think of anything is menopause. And I'm like, imagine now you don't get all of them. Everybody's unique and different. But I said, imagine if you had to go through your day and you don't know which or what is going to hit you, and you kind of got to deal with it on the fly. And he said, I don't know how. He's like, I thought women having babies was, amazing. But if what you're telling me is what happens during menopause, he said, women are outstanding. They shouldn't look at it negatively. They should look at it positively, that they are dealing with this on a daily basis of unknown. So I can only imagine in your journey that layer that added. I don't. I give you so much credit for maneuvering the way you have through it.
Well, my great grandmother had her she was 50 having her 11th child.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And her oldest had her baby. So she was nursing the youngest sibling, because my great grandmother had no more breast milk. You can imagine 50
Right.
trying to breast milk, right? Breastfeed,
Right.
excuse me. So I'm not surprised that I'm still having periods, and I thought I was home free, Kelly, because I just did an 8 month stint, nothing.
Oh yeah, you're like, here it comes.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm over the hurdle. And then boom, before Christmas, bam, or January. I can't remember which month it was, right? I have it in my calendar. And I thought, oh, I said a few choice words. God, I cannot go. I don't want to go through this again. The hot flashes and how it makes your body feel. And I'll tell you, in the summertime, my mother-in-law passed away in May, bless her heart. And in June or July, we were over there and we were cleaning out the house, because you have to, right?
Right.
Getting it ready. And the air condition went out.
Oh no.
And I was in the throes of hot flashes. And when I tell you, I woke up during the middle of the night. Now, I've never had to do this before ever, Kelly, in my life, but I did go into the freezer and I got several ice packs and I had to lay them on my body because I thought I was going to combust. I was so hot. But it wasn't like a normal hot that you can handle. This was almost scary. Like my heart was racing. I
Yeah.
was, it did not feel good at all. So I laid there, tried to calm myself down. I've got ice pack here, my neck, my chest, my stomach. I'm like, I'm in like a t-shirt and my underwear, and it was just like, I thought this has got to be the craziest thing I've ever had to do to just cool my body temperature down. If the air had been running, it probably wouldn't have been so bad. But it was the summertime, no air condition. Literally, we had a fan going, in the bedrooms, right? And I just, I like don't ever want to do that again. That was, I mean, unless you go through it, it doesn't sound that bad, but it really was a little scary because I got so hot. Maybe it's like if you had been out running and you get overheated and feel like you can't cool your body back down. It's a scary feeling.
No, I've heard. So I have not had a, I'm still perimenopause, but I have not had a hot flash. I have had night sweats, but the way that each woman that I've talked to has had hot flashes, the way they describe it, I've been kind of in shock and kind of, hoping the universe decides to skip the hot flash part with me and just hit me with the acne that I got, and the low back pain. But your description of it is it's very similar to him, and even with air conditioning, even with the fan going, that it's
It's
just
terrible. Do other women talk to you about how, because like I'm in perimenopause, right? Because now I've had another
right.
period.
Because
So I'm not, but it started back in 22. It's like the first time it happened. I had one daughter graduate high school, one graduate college, and it was after all the COVID stuff and everything. And I remember trying to do that. We did a party for them together and trying not to just, I was so tired but I
oh yeah,
was going into it and I went like a 4 month period without my period. But I remember what I would call it is like surges. Like now it's a little different than it was in the beginning. In the beginning, it was sort of like, it felt like heat surges that would like come up out of my body outward. And now what happens is I can be sitting there and it's almost like somebody turns a switch on. Ooh, let's turn the heat up. And then you almost feel like a layer across your skin of like perspiration, like your skin, your shoulders, maybe right here, the back of your neck, your legs. And if you kind of wiped your hand across yourself, you might feel a little moisture, right? And it's like it turns on and then it turns back down.
yep.
And I really don't have night sweats, but I have this happen, and it does usually happen around 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then I got to throw all the blankets and sheets off. Sometimes I mean, I have to sit there. I have to, you're
Yeah, you're fanning. Yeah, keep going.
you're fanning. If somebody calls it, I'm having my own summertime.
Yeah, exactly. Now that description that you just gave, that's what I experience, and definitely. So that's what just makes this all so much worse. Is that, like you said, I could go a month or two and not have that, and then go a month stretch, and there it is again. And
Oh,
just trying to. You're in bed, you got the fuzzies on, the comforters, and then by the end of the night, everything's off. You're got that like semi sweat layer, very thin, but you're like,
yeah.
what's going on? No, it's gosh, perimenopause and menopause. It's so
It
awful.
sucks. I mean, you've got your brain fog, you've got I'm so tired today, I don't feel like I can do anything. And I'm still in the throes of raising a child. So,
Yeah.
I've got X amount of hours in a day that I can do all the things that I do. And there are a lot. And so for me, my calendar I live by my calendar. I schedule things out like I do in a way so that I can be able to do the things that I want to do or need to do. But then, around 2 o'clock, 2:20, I got to wrap it up. And then I have to get my son. And from then it's him. I mean, you've got homework. If he does have play, like if the other boys come over or whatever, then, or he goes there, then I can get some more work done. But, that's it. Then you got dinner, you got bedtime. And he's just been through a period of time. He has had the flu and then an ear infection, sinus infection, and
Oh
strep.
wow.
And so we are having to change our nighttime routine now to he has to go to bed earlier. He's got to have 10 hours of sleep. The pediatrician's like, he has to have 10 hours of sleep every single night. And so we have to get up at 6 in the morning for school. So that means he needs to be in bed asleep by 8. What 11-year-old wants to do that?
No, none.
A
None.
boy with ADHD and autism. No, are
No,
you kidding
that's a
me?
huge challenge for you
It
to
is a huge challenge. So it's like I can't slack off. You can't do the whole don't do as I do, do as I say. It's got to be very routine. I mean, my kids have taught me a lot, and there's some things I wish that wouldn't have happened, like the abuse my daughter went through. Right?
oh
She's.
yeah.
I mean, my God, if any of that could be changed, that's a wish I have in life. No parent wants that for their child. No child deserves it.
No.
Um, but the thing is, my kids have taught me so much that I am such a different person than I ever knew I would be in this life. And it's given me purpose for my life and a passion that I would never trade for anything in the world.
I love that. And I just had a conversation with someone, and so your experience is going to be very different. Where her children were, she's getting ready to empty nest. So her purpose now, she's trying to find her purpose
Right.
because she's saying, well, she's in her early 50s, and what is her purpose, and how does she resolve that within herself, that
Sure.
what her identity was is no longer. And we talked about how once you move past that phase, um how you need to reclaim yourself and be okay. Like for you, I can imagine by the time you're okay, I'm the only person that I need to worry about right now in this moment in time, is probably going to be a very shocking and potentially like upsetting, because your identity,
It might
you
not
know.
happen though, because by the time he graduates to go to college, my others probably will be married, having babies. And
That's
mom,
true.
can you help? So I don't know if my husband and I will ever truly be empty nesters. We may not get that opportunity in this life. I don't know. I mean, I have friends much younger than me that are empty nesters, and I'm like, oh, what is that like? I don't want to wish the time away, but it's like, I have friends and people that I work with, and you know, their kids are all grown up and married, and they have all this time to be creative and do tons of stuff. And I'm like, I wish that I could, I'm trying to stay up a little bit longer at night. I'm trying to sleep enough so I can get up early in the morning to get things done, because I do need to be in that space that's just me and only thinking about what
Right.
are my needs in that moment. What do I need to create right now or write about? Especially being an author, I'm in the middle of editing a middle grade reader, which takes focus and concentration. And then I'm on a ghostwriting project for someone, their memoir. So I need that concentration, time for that. Um, and so it's hard to find that time for that. And you'd asked about the songwriting. I want to touch on that for a second because that's another way to be creative, right?
Absolutely.
um, so my girls have been singing since they were very young, and they've done musical theater. We've been a musical theater family for a really long time. And in 2015, when I was introduced to who we are co-writers now for 9 years, he fell in love with, well, I was introduced to him. I had written the manuscript I told you about when I was
Right.
nursing my son, and that divine moment, I call it a divine download, came. And they do happen for people. You have to be just in a space of willingness to allow things to flow through you, because we really are these conduits of creativity on this planet, right? Things to flow through us. And he I sat on it for 2 years, Kelly, because I was like, oh, I'm just a mom, middle America, who wants to hear what I have to say, right? I really did feel that way at that time. And for 2 years I felt like there was this nudging on my shoulder saying, you have to do something with that story. But I was like, but what? I have no idea what to do with it. I don't know anyone who's published. I have no idea about that world. But finally, when I listened and said, okay, fine, it was like it kept the voice kept getting louder, right? But what it did was, when I listened and the doors opened, it's led me to where I am now, which is most of it I could never have seen for myself, Kelly, back then.
No,
Really.
I'm looking at your bio, and I'm like, how?
I know that's a good question. How, since 2017, how has all of this, and it's just continuing to happen. And I do, you know, when all that stuff happened with my daughter, I lost all faith in God and man. I mean, I literally, it was in the pit of pits.
Mhm.
And I lost faith in everything. And I wanted to give up. And you can imagine your child being abused at the hands of someone else. You want to
There's a
hurt
lot you
them.
want to do.
Yeah, there's a lot you want to do. You can't even say
Right.
out loud. But when my son was born, I do believe some parts of me believe that he came in when he did, and it was to save me and to save our family. Because, and I'll, I may start tearing up.
No, it's fine.
I, I had about 5 minutes to cry about all of it for her, um, for me, and the guilt of not being able to save her from that. And, but I had this baby who had needs, and I had to take care of him, Kelly. So I had to pull up my big girl panties and I had to keep moving forward and I couldn't stop. God, the world, the universe didn't let me. So I had to keep moving forward. I wasn't given that chance to sit there and wallow in any of it.
No.
And so being the person that I am, that I was raised, I come from my parents divorcing when I was 11, my grandparents dying in a year from that, my father basically abandoning us. I'm a survivor, and survivors learn how to, you have to learn to be resilient, and you have to learn to find the silver lining, and you have to learn how to make things okay, and you have to keep moving forward, and you cannot stay in the place of being a victim. And I've worked hard to teach my children this. Okay, things happen, and sometimes really bad things happen. I mean, my precious daughter's 21 and she's in college. She's doing so well. I'm so proud of her, but she still has triggers, and she still has times that we are like, okay, we got to go, we got to get back in therapy. She has to go back to therapy sometimes for things. Um, but she doesn't live her life as a victim, like on her sleeve, like this happened to me, you
Right.
know. I don't want her to. um I don't want any of my children to ever do that. You know, Carson is autistic, so what? He's autistic. It doesn't define who he is as a person. It
No.
doesn't limit him. He's never been taught he can't do something because of the way he was born. He's only ever encouraged. So my call to parents is, no matter what diagnosis your child has, don't ever make them feel limited. Don't ever, if your child is blind or deaf, don't make them live a life that they feel like they can't do things. You know, if they have Down syndrome, I have friends with Down syndrome children, and I've seen what the school has done for them, and they can talk, and they're learning, and they're reading, and they will have a very fulfilled life. But it takes a really great support system, and it takes parents who, you do have to sacrifice some things. I mean, if I could put down all the hours I have spent driving back and forth and therapies and speech and OT and feeding and doctor's appointments, and, you know, I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot. But our children also deserve that.
Well, I want to touch on, because your daughter's experience, not the actual experience, but
Mm-hmm.
you touched on that, and she might forever have to check in once in a while with a therapist, um, to keep her head on straight, to keep her going forward and positive. And, I just had this conversation because I'm a survivor of an assault, but from my early 20s.
Mm,
And
bless you.
as you're moving through, I'm 54 now, and the way I grew up as a Gen Xer, you there was a lot of shame in seeking. In my mind, I felt shameful for feeling like a victim, but yet being in that spot mentally at that time and seeking therapy and being okay with, I got to take care of myself. So now I'm in my 50s, and now I just went to therapy for the very first time in my life, about a year ago, to learn that how you're shaped, how you're formed from these experiences, and that it's okay. And especially
Mm-hmm.
now as I'm getting older and you got the hormones and this and that, and your brain's going wild. I just kind of wanted to tie that back into like what you're experiencing for you, for
Mm-hmm.
one, because as a mother and I, having three children, the amount of shame, not shame, guilt that you feel, even though there's nothing you can do, but it's your baby, it's your child, and you feel like you coulda, shoulda, woulda at any given moment, carrying that through into these years that we're in now and everything that's going on with
Mm-hmm.
us. I think you have a really good message that you didn't even realize you imparted, but I know that you would impart it, is that never be afraid to stand up for yourself and never be afraid to seek help, never limit
Hmm.
yourself, and never fall into this victimhood.
Right.
That went completely off of menopause, but
No,
you
it's
have to
perfect.
respond.
It's very, very important that we, my mom had a psychology background, so we talked about everything in our house. So that, but I know how the world views it. It's been so, there's so many people who think it's a bad thing, who think it means you're weak. In the church, in the church environment, you will find sometimes there's a belief that you don't go outside the church to get your guidance. You get it
Right.
from people in the church. What if you got people who are broken in the church?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Broken people are everywhere. No, no, nobody is immune to that, in the sense that just because people are in church doesn't mean they're not broken or come from brokenness. What we have to do is we have to, and yeah, we're not talking about menopause, but we
It's
we
okay.
have to get on, we have to get in a place where we're not continuing to put broken people out in the world. And that starts with us. That
Yes.
starts with us fixing ourselves and being brave enough and bold enough to look in the mirror and go, hey, what do you need right now? And how can I help you? You say that to yourself.
Well, and I wish I had his name in front of me. It was all over Instagram, social media, but it was an excerpt of this gentleman. I think he was a professor. He was talking about how he was trying to equate why do women have a longer lifespan than men, and what the biological reasoning for that was. And what he proposed was that the women are the teachers. They're the
Mm-hmm.
backbone of the children, the
And the
grandchildren.
nurturers.
Right. So our lifespan is longer because they want, with all the wisdom and the experience that we have, that we're supposed to impart that on our grandchildren, on the next generation and the next generation. And that's
Mm.
why that's our purpose. So what you just said, fixing yourself, understanding the way forward, and then we influence our children, who then influence our grandchildren, and so on and so forth down the road. And it's up to us to really, I don't want to say fix our children, but to guide them into that. And God, that's a fascinating conversation. We could sit and talk about that for
Oh, I know
hours.
we could. Oh, absolutely. There's so much to talk about. But yeah, and my daughter sent me a TikTok the other day, and it was a doctor who was talking about, I don't know if it's the same guy, but he was talking about the size of a woman's brain. And he was talking about how certain parts of it are a different size than a man's brain. And that's the part where nurturing is. And we are intended to be the nurturers of children. We are intended to raise the children. We are intended to be the main force in the child's life because of our brain, how it's wired. And I thought it was really fascinating.
That blows my mind.
Yeah. And
Thank
then
you.
about the videos about, how after your baby's born, that part of their DNA and particles stay in your body until
Yes.
like forever, basically, right? So when a person says, "Oh, you shouldn't be a helicopter parent," or you should, some parents have no choice. When you got a child with needs, it's very difficult to not be more close knit to your child. But when my children are, we're very intuitive, empathic, and psychic in our house. It kind of all goes together with sensory. It's a very fascinating subject. But when my children are in distress of any kind, I feel it. I hear it. Like sometimes I feel like I hear my children calling me, and then I will call them and or text them, "Are you okay?" "Well,
Yeah.
I'm having a really bad day today," or "I'm really stressed." And so I really feel like that's just that part of them that's still there. That's why that bond is so, I mean, it's so powerful.
Or you could call it intuition, but I read that same information just came on the heels of all this stuff that I had gotten into, and I'm gonna butcher this word, chimerism. I think that's what it is. I'm
Uh-huh.
probably saying it wrong, but that's when every mother retains pieces of the DNA for they don't know exactly the length of time. They used to say it was just like a couple of years, and now they're saying no. They're doing autopsies and finding
Um,
these altered genes that from this woman's from her children. And I think this study also pointed out that male DNA holds on longer than female DNA. So your sons make up a
huh.
very large part of you. But if you think about that in the context that it was your the woman that you were before you had children, in a sense, no longer exists. Because this
True.
woman now is made up of her own DNA and her children's DNA, and like you said, protectivism, intuition, all the things that we women, if we get looked at as being like, oh, they're just moms and that's what they do. No, no, there's a very strong biological reason for all of this.
Right.
And if we want to tie it into perimenopause, menopause, the age group, as we are getting older as mothers, we're having children later. So we are hitting this transitional time where our hormones are going down as we're still in the middle of this child nurturing and raising this DNA. I mean, how how are we getting through the day? I think someone
Mm.
should have a party for us. Somewhere
Oh,
there should be a
I think there should be a celebration for women, and there should be a celebration for men as well.
Absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
and
Won't take it away.
it should be done more with awareness and respect for all that we contribute to each other and our children. I really think children need the male and female, and they need that because
Oh,
it teaches them, oh, so that's what that's for. That's how that works, or that's what that represents. Well, and I say that because my mom raised us. So she went to work and worked full time raising three children, and my father was not there. So, what did I learn growing up? Well, moms do everything, right?
yes. Yep.
Okay. So then what did I do in my own marriage that I finally caught myself and went, oh, okay, like I can do it all, right? I mean, I was taught that. That was my model to emulate growing up. But I also need to let my husband do what he does. Like I need to pull him in. We need to partner together on this,
Hmm.
because he's got to do his part too, because he needs to have his effect on our children as well.
Exactly. I think that's partially, it might not be the exact thing, but over functioning wife or an over
Oh,
functioning
yes.
spouse. So that's
Right.
what we become. And it's for a lot of us, it's a role we willingly take because just like you said, the example that was set for us by our mothers was this is what we do. And we can do it the best. But just like you said, children need both. They need balance.
Mhm.
They need to see things from different perspectives too. Like, how do you deal with something? How does dad deal with something?
Right.
How do they deal together? And what does that mean for what the blueprint of a relationship I am going to have down the road?
Exactly. They need to be able to see that. So they don't need to see the fighting. They need to see the resolution
Yep.
and how to work it out. And it's funny you say that because something happened like a week ago and all the kids were home and we were talking about something and Carson goes, "No, no, no. This is a that's a dad version. This is the mom version." And I thought that was so insightful for him at 11
At
that
11, that's very,
yeah, that we would have, he knows that mom and dad are maybe on this particular subject, we're going to say two different things, which I thought was precious. And I love that. And we don't talk about what men go through. I mean, my husband's 58 and he's going through his own menopause, you
mm-hmm.
know, and guys don't go to the doctor and go, "Hey, so I have this hair here," or I don't, my hair's falling out, or most men don't. They just kind of get grumpier and grumpier. Um, right?
That's a very true statement because, in healthcare, women, we tend to be the drivers in healthcare, the doctor appointments will be, even though in this arena, we aren't seeking out help as much as we should. One, for shame. Two, because we just don't think anybody understands us and that we're crazy. So there's factors there that I would hope that the healthcare system or providers will start getting on top of and
Yeah.
mainstreaming it more and normalizing it more. But men, if we're not making the appointments, they're not making the appointments for themselves. And then we get the whole stereotypical, oh, well, I'm a man, I shouldn't have this, I shouldn't I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
But it affects us as women too in this age group. I mean, they're going through their own thing, we're going through our own thing. And, like you said, if you can balance that out and be open in your relationship, that's the key to the longevity
Mm.
of it. But
Oh my
that's so
goodness.
insightful for your 11-year-old to be able to point that out.
Well, and I'll tell you something. So his OT therapist has worked for a couple of years with him. I love this program she uses, and she has worked with him on his social emotional skills so that he understands what's happening in his body when he's having an emotion and how to recognize it, name it, tame it, self regulate. All children need this. I don't care what kind of home you come from because 99% of children are not being taught how to do this.
No,
And
no.
so he's autistic and ADHD, and he can talk about his feelings. And I am forever grateful to her for teaching him that and for him to be able to articulate at 11, okay, what's happening right now, buddy? You're acting all, and I'm just so excited. I cannot calm down, mom, when we sit down and we talk about it.
Do you know how many adults could benefit from that?
Oh, like 99% of us?
Nine-
I mean,
if-
come on, right? Somebody to just talk to you. Okay, what's happening right now for you, I mean, I've had to learn these skills through my kids and I'm really grateful for them. And I'm not perfect. I'm not ever saying that. I'm just saying that how helpful these things have been and how much I wish that we all had those. That's why teaching self regulation and mindfulness tools and things like that is really important to me to teach kids. And I my advocacy work with Autism Tennessee, we have a new program called Building Bridges, and I'm one of the trainers for it. And I've kind of taken the lead on this because I help co-create some of this part, and part of that's the positive behavioral stuff for daycares and preschool. So we go in and we train about the early signs and symptoms of autism, how to help families, how to help staff, what to do, that kind of thing. And so, I feel like that the more tools that we can give adults and children, we're going to cut down on bullying. We're going to cut down on anxiety. We're going to cut down on depression. We're going to cut down on anyone ever thinking suicide is an option for them.
Absolutely. We just have to, much like children and adults, coping mechanisms, we have to recognize them, use them, appreciate them, and understand this doesn't diminish our self-worth. There's no shame in doing that, in practicing that.
Right. I know we have a choice. We have a
That's
choice.
true. You have
How we
choice.
react, how we feel about something, we have a choice.
We have choice. We have options.
Yeah.
And we are given avenues that we can seek out whatever it is, however we need to seek it out, and it's okay, and it's actually encouraged and a positive movement.
Yes.
Well, you mentioned that project. What other projects are you working on right now? I can't even imagine, besides ghostwriting, which you brought up. You're currently in the midst of editing and ghostwriting. What else?
And that book's going to be amazing. This woman, now she goes across the country. She has a ministry and she's teaching about it. Her book's called The Dreaded F Word, and it's about forgiveness, right? It's so
Oh,
hard for people to forgive. Isn't there a great title? I love the
it's
title.
catchy title.
Very catchy. And she comes from generations of abuse. She did drugs, alcohol, everything. She was a prostitute. She's been in jail. And then she found Jesus. It changed her life. And now what she's trying to do is help others break those generational curses and the generations of abuse and neglect and all of those things. And so it's going to be a really good book when it's finished, and I'm really excited for her because this is more of the things that need to be talked about out in the world, So I'm excited for her story to get out there. But I have the middle grade reader and then that project. And the building bridges, actually, I'm speaking tomorrow at a college here to the elementary education students all about autism and advocacy and the Building Bridges program. But one of my other passions is sensory rooms and sensory spaces. We're all sensory beings. And so I've had to learn so much about sensory through my children that I know it affects all of us, right? And how cool would it be to work someplace where they said, hey, if you're having an off moment or a hard day, you can go here to the sensory space and sit down and self-regulate and then come back and finish your work. How cool would that be?
Oh, we'd be way more productive, I can tell you that.
I know, right? So I've helped create some in several libraries and then consulted with libraries across the state. And then this summer we secured I helped secure a grant for $10,000. And we've used it with 4 libraries to help them get their spaces uh, ready, and they've just launched them, which is very exciting. And so that's something that's really a passion of mine. And then I manage my girls; they sing. So the songwriting stuff, it sort of came from my first book. My co-writer wrote 10 songs for the first book, and my girls went into the studio to record it back in 2015, 2016. And then
Wow.
they would go with me to book events. So it became a whole family thing because my book covers have my son's face on them. And so it became this whole family thing, which was really wonderful. And now they're called Sisters J, and they actually just released a cover of The Wind Beneath My Wings that's out
Okay,
on
that's
Spotify.
no small undertaking.
No, and it is a
Big song.
I'm gonna I'll send you the link to it. So it's really
Yes.
beautiful. It's so beautiful, and there's a really beautiful story that goes with it. And so it's a pretty emotional song for us as a family. But yeah, so their first song my girls put out, I think it was 2022. So 2021, we wrote. So it was my co-writer Thornton Klein. You'll have to look him up. He's amazing. And then my oldest daughter, we wrote a song called Open Win, and it's based off a true story in her life. And it's about sending open win letters to somebody, and it's to open when they're sad or they're miss home or it's their birthday or for any occasion at all. And so the song is called Open Win. And so the 3 of us wrote that song together. And it was actually in 2022 in June. It was their first song that we'd ever put out. And it went to number 1 and 2 on the world and Euro charts. So that was very exciting. Very
That is
exciting.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
huge. As a parent, you must be so proud.
Oh my gosh. I mean, just, yeah, I am so proud of them. And they're both in school, college. So they're working their way through school and then trying to do music on the side, so they can't do it full time, but they've had incredible journeys so far. Last year there's a group, a platform called the International Singer Songwriters Association. It's global, and they won the gold vocal duo of the year last year. So that was
Oh, wow.
very, yeah, so that was like we were in the middle of packing my mother-in-law's house and very sad, right? We didn't go to the awards ceremony that weekend in August because we were getting the house finished, getting it ready for sale because somebody was buying it. And we got the call, and we stopped in the middle of packing her house, and we just turned on celebration the music, and just we danced and yelled and screamed and we cried, and great. My mother-in-law would have been so excited.
Yeah, I think that was something in the wind in the universe decided to bring that to you
That was
in
a
that
surreal
moment.
moment. Yeah, that was really surreal. So,
Well, I always ask, well, one question I have before I ask my two lighthearted questions is if there's anything that you could impart on women going through this transition with their hormones, perimenopause, menopause.
oh,
There's one little nugget of advice you could give them. What would it be?
just be patient with yourself,
I love that.
and ask everyone around you. If you just have to say to your family, listen, mom is going through perimenopause, menopause, just be patient with me right now. If I blow my lid, if I having a day I don't feel well, if I have to miss something because I need to go and take care of myself, just be patient with me through this.
I love that. Okay, two lighthearted questions.
Yes. I know
If
we've been sort of heavy. Oh,
Yeah, if you could put a cocktail, mocktail, alcoholic, non-alcoholic beverage could
mm,
be the theme beverage for your journey as, and then we're going to include everything with you from your mom, women, childbearing years and your experience through where you are now. What would that be?
Okay, so the word that came up for me is fireball.
So many women immediately go fireball, and then they go to something else. But
Oh,
I love
seriously? No, but my son loves that song by what's his
fireball.
name?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, I just
Yeah, Pitbull.
Pitbull. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know, for some reason I heard fireball and I'm thinking, but if we wanted to do, there are parts of it have been fireball. We'll say that, okay? And then what about if we do something that's like hmm, lavender and chamomile for those times that are really
Oh, yes, that
wonderful.
you need to. Yes, that's an
Yes.
excellent. And then some days you could throw the fireball in the lavender and chamomile tea and really create something. And that's probably what every day feels like.
Yes, I know, right? We need more of the lavender and chamomile.
We really do. I'm
Put the
ready for that.
fireball out.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
ready for that stage. And then the other question is we have the KellFire Show playlist on Spotify. So every guest, I ask them whatever it is that they've talked about their journey, if they could put a
Mm,
theme song to it, and then I put it on the playlist. This playlist is so eclectic. I can't even tell you the different from rap to R&B to pop and ballads. It's crazy. But if you could put one song, one theme song.
good Lord. That's such a hard question, Kelly, because like I have such a large repertoire of music that I
Yeah,
love.
I didn't anticipate the songwriter having to,
Oh,
sing.
so I mean, like we could go with one of something from Swan Lake and Tchaikovsky that every time I hear it, the sugar plum. There's one of those songs in there that I feel like I come out of my body every time I listen to it. So every once in a while, my daughter will put it on because she knows the reaction I'll have, right?
Right.
But I would say that you know um, a song that takes me just out of this world is one of Andre Bocelli's famous songs, and I can't think of the name of it right now, but I would say for me it would either be Celebration or Get Down on It.
Ooh. All right.
I'm
Which
gonna
one?
go with some boogie because I'm a dancer by nature, and
Oh,
so that's what gets me up out of whatever's happening. Like my husband created a song playlist for me. It's called Mom's. I think it's called Mom's Booty Shakin' Music. So
I love that.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll put celebration, Cool in the Gang. I will
yes,
I will put that because I think honestly, with all your accomplishments and all that you've been through and you're still going through, like, celebrating what you've done for
yeah,
yourself, for your children, for your family. I like we said earlier, there needs to be a party or a celebration or one small little ribbon we can wear, something to just say, hey, we did it. And we did it with all this going on.
I know.
So
Absolutely. When I was a little girl, I had a very high fever. I was like 2 years old, and music came on, and my mother said I got up off the sofa and danced, even with a high fever.
I love that.
So music means a lot to me. And a couple of years ago, I was at a fundraiser, and they closed the fundraiser out. It was all about adoption. It was all about these children in Haiti that need the foster care system. And she closed out the fundraiser with Celebration. And is it Sir Isaac Tune? One of the last members of the band who helped write that song, he came and performed it.
Oh,
And,
that's so much fun.
and I got up on stage. I have video. I'm like, this is the highlight of my life. I am out of here, people.
Yeah.
I,
There's
I,
my
I
15
am
minutes of fame. I'm done.
I know. I'm gonna go sit down and I'm gonna drink a beverage on the beach.
That's right. Oh, I
Yes.
love
So that was so fun.
that's one to remember for forever. That's
Absolutely.
your
God, that
that's your
song is
mic
just
drop.
so good.
It's your mic
Uh,
drop. I'm out.
I know, right? That's like the best song ever. And Earth, Wind, and Fire. Oh gosh, all that
Yeah,
music. I don't care what's happening in your life. Just turn it on and you're just gonna forget. You're gonna
you're gonna
forget
figure
and you're gonna get up and your body can't sit still.
that's very true. Well, Mary, thank you. I could talk to you for like 2, 3,
I
4
know.
hours.
I know. We're gonna have to do that outside of this.
Yes, but thank you so much for coming on. Thank you everyone for tuning in today and to listening to Mary and I. And she
Mm.
imparted so much and very inspiring too, and
Oh,
and
thank
also very
you.
raw. which I appreciate because I think we can all relate in some way, form, or fashion to that. So thank you for telling your story and being so open and honest and laying it on the table. Um, Mary,
Thank
where
you.
can they find you? Let's shout
Um,
out some of your social
okay.
media.
Yeah, so you can find me at maryejackson.com. That's my website. And then like links to my books are there, link to my shows because I have a radio show on the Brushwood Media Network called Cover to Cover. So I'd love for you to listen. It's great interviews that are inspiring, authors' journeys. There's music, I do music artists as well. And that's on, you could go to my website and find that. And I'm
I
on
will. I'll
Facebook.
make sure we have those.
Okay, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. Threads is Mary E. Jackson or Mary Jackson 5 or Mary Elizabeth Jackson. So that's where I am. I'm always there putting something up. So
Well, everybody, if you when you're listening out there, or you are listening, it's not when, um, go follow Mary. I follow Mary on
thank
Instagram already really quickly, and I'm already like, all right, this is really cool. But thank
you.
you, everyone. Thank you, Mary. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon, all the things. Mary knows how this goes. We don't even know where we
Yep.
are anymore.
I know,
But
right?
thank you all, and next episode.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to tell you guys about our supplement line. If you haven't already heard, I put a lot of time and effort into sourcing out what I think are the most important things for women's health in this transition in our lives. And we have Dr. KellFire's potions and elixirs. What we have first is a vegan vanilla protein powder. We also have, this is one of my favorites. It's prebiotic and probiotic. It's a greens powder. So you get your greens, you get your fruits, but you do really attack that gut health and balance that out. So I'm a big fan of Thrive. We also have apple cider gummies. If you've ever had apple cider vinegar, you know how harsh that is to take. So we have our gummies, and they are apple flavored, and they're really good. Supports metabolism. We have the lovely collagen and biotin combo in liquid, so it's awesome. You can put it in your drinks, you can put it in your teas, you can just shoot it in your mouth. I love tinctures, but collagen, biotin for hair and nails, because that is extremely important at this time in our lives. 8-in-1 mushrooms, illumination. Love this product. It's 8 different nootropic mushrooms that supports immunity, anxiety, mental state, awareness, focus. This is my favorite, baby. And then I probably shouldn't have said that because this one is my favorite, baby. This one is bovine glandular. So this is derived from bovine uterus. This is for hormone balance and libido support. This is a staple, and I think it should be a staple in every woman's wellness kit. All of our supplements you can get on mytempesta.com. Just hit the shop link and everything there. You can get it one time. You could sign up for a subscription with discounts and they'll just come to your door. It will spark your wellness journey and ignite your fire.